Is Leah, so people will be expecting a lady.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Welcome to the OhioRAAM Show.
Well, hello, everybody. We're here with our guest today, Leigh Timmis. Hi, Leigh. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you, Leigh?
Pretty good. Over there in the what part of England are you from?
I'm from a city called Derby, which is right in the middle. It's like the heart of the
From the
UK.
Midlands. Okay. Very well. Well, we'll be talking to you here in a minute. We'll put you backstage here. We'll take care of some business. Doggone it, Jim's not here. I don't know what we're going to do with him. He went and got himself a job, as you know, and he's putting out an IT fire down in almost in Tennessee, I think, is where he's at. So you'll have to put up with me today, unless he should happen to pop in here. You never know. But we want to just welcome you to the OhioRAAM Show, a show about ultra cycling, and it comes to you from the wonderful people who operate the time stations here in Ohio. Time station 41 in Oxford, 42 in Blanchester, 43 in Chillicothe, the Race Across America time stations, and of course mine, Mike Minium, the Sign Man. And we'll get talking more about those as we get closer to the Race Across America. I'll tell you what, last week I have these show notes here on the monitor beside me, and I sometimes fail to look at them. And last week I was saying thank yous to people who helped us during the summer, and goodness sakes, I missed the biggest one of all, Paris, Brest, Paris. And we had such wonderful response from that. I think I mentioned that. We probably had the biggest response we've ever had to anything we've ever done here. And we appreciate the people who made this happen. I just want to name them. Air Wisra from Thailand. She was one of our reporters. Grinny Kartik from India. Joanna Sharp from New Zealand. And from the United States, we had Lam Do, one of our great reporters. George Stoichev, and Phil Fox. So we want to thank all those people. And we're going to be doing a lot more things like that in the future. We've been hinting at the fact that there's something coming up here, and we want to just say that we're going to have a very important show next week. We got some big news coming up. We got some big announcements we want to make and some changes to the OhioRAAM Show. And to help us with the announcements and keep us honest, we're going to have Mark Poland and Joe Barr from the World Ultra Cycling Association, who is going to help us launch these things. Remember that you can make comments over here and ask questions of our guests, and we're glad to have him. And so that's next week. Same time, same station, 3:00, because Joe's going to be in Ireland. And so we try to make it convenient for him so he doesn't have to get up in the middle of the night to do this show. All right. So let's get back to our guest of the day, Leigh Timmis. And what happened to you, Leigh? There you are.
I'm back.
Yeah. Like I say, Jim does a lot of the button pushing here. And consequently, I kind of stumble a bit when I don't have him here. I saw the backstage of a TV production, one of our big networks, and they have about 50 people back there working. And
how many have you got, Leigh? You must have at least 100
today
behind you. There's a dog helping you. Is that right?
Yeah. So we love doing this, and technology is so wonderful anymore. And we're in our 12th year of doing this, Leigh.
That's incredible. I mean, you must have had some great people on as well. I was just listening to your introduction there, having Joe Barr and the guys from the WOOCA on next week. That's incredible as well.
We've got some important things to talk about next week, and I don't want to go say more about that because we still don't have all our ducks in a row. But one of the things we are doing is we're in the process of recruiting more and more reporters from around the world who can help us bring us reports. And we're hoping to do that kind of thing. Leigh, let's get on to talking about you. Tell us a little about yourself. And
sure. So, I've done a few things in ultracycling. I left the UK in 2010 to ride a bike around the world. I thought that was going to be a couple of years. 7 years later, I ended up coming back. And then in 2018, I broke the world record for the fastest cycle across Europe. And then last November 2022, I broke the world record for the greatest distance cycled in 7 days.
We're here. Are you here?
Yep.
Okay. So across Europe, that was self-supported, Leigh?
No, it wasn't. The fastest cycle across Europe was with a team.
Okay, very good. Well, tell me about what that's like.
It was it was a whole year of preparation, to be honest. I think I went into that world record from the very beginning to set the scene. I'd just come back from riding around the world, and I was kind of, I guess, a little bit lost, didn't know what to do. What do you do after you've done something as huge as that? So I looked for another challenge. And after a couple of months, I saw this article about a guy who had gone across Europe and attempted the world record unsupported. And I thought, well, that seems like the kind of thing I could do. I could probably go out there and break the record now, knock a few hours off of it. And I had a conversation with a guy called Steve, who was mentoring me at the time and still does. And he started to question my approach to it. He said, how could you best mitigate risk? Would that be alone or with a team? And I was like, well, yeah, with a team for sure, but I don't need one because I could do it myself. He's like, well, how can you get your best result? And I was like, yeah, the team would help, but I could do it myself now. And Steve sort of instilled a new way of looking at things for me. He said, if that's the best way that you can do it, then that's the way you'll do it. So the project went from just needing a bike and a couple of £1,000 to needing to build a team of scientists and a budget of £50,000 and all the tech and the visas and the science that goes with it. But it turned into a huge year of learning for me. It was personal transformation. A lot of it was about the psychology. I'm sure you must have a lot of ultra endurance cyclists come on here and tell you, it's the mind that cracks when you're halfway across a continent like that. So it was actually a huge year. Yeah, the 16 days that I did the record in were just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
You get into a place, Leigh, don't you, that you just feel like you can't dig yourself out of. And then somewhere you reach down into something, I don't quite understand it, and says, I can go one more mile. Maybe I can go two more.
Yeah, that's it. I think you just have to look at that one next mile, not even that, the next pedal stroke, when it really comes down to it. I think that when we find ourselves in those really difficult positions where we're struggling to figure a way that we're going to go on, and it seems like there's forever left on a challenge like that, there's a couple of things that come to mind for me that get me through. One is the fact that we go through such difficult times in the rest of our lives. Sometimes the bike can just almost be a great metaphor for the other times. Like I struggled with my mental health in my mid-20s, and I think to be able to look back and know that I went through those hard times and thought that there was no way out of that, and I came through and I've gone on to achieve some amazing things. I think when you've gone through difficult times, you realize you can go through difficult times. I also think the people that we surround ourselves with are incredibly important at those moments. I think the teams that you'll have spoken to from the Race Across America, the teams that I've worked with on world records, they're built from science experts, from coaching experts, technology experts, but they're also human beings. And a lot of the team that kind of go unthanked in a way are those friends and families back home that send messages and that cheer you on and they kind of, I guess, put a bit of their hope and their belief. Everything that we do impacts different people, doesn't it? It impacts everyone around us. And sometimes it can feel like you're very alone out on the road when you get to those moments when you don't know how you're going to dig a bit deeper. But to get a message from somebody back home just saying they're proud of you or that they love you or you're doing a great job, I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's wonderful that we have the systems we have today. I did a fair amount of bike packing back in the day when I had a wee little computer that cost me an enormous amount of money compared to what you could get one for today. And the only thing we had to hook up to was, telephone lines. And I still recall standing in the kitchen of a restaurant in North Dakota with my computer hooked to their telephone system so I could get some messages through. And, but nowadays, what wonderful things we have here.
It's absolutely, incredible. And it's such a short amount of time that change has come about, isn't it? I remember cycling around the world, and when I left, you couldn't just pick up Wi-Fi everywhere. I'd have to go you'd search a town for an internet cafe where you could sit and I'd spend half an hour trying to take the pictures from my camera and burn them onto a DVD or something like that. And then you try and dial up the internet in a sketchy internet cafe where there was really bad signal and everyone's trying to use the bandwidth for games and stuff. And you drop a couple of emails over to family and then you wouldn't be in contact for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. Yeah. The way we can connect now. And I guess that technology permeates into the way that we use tech on the bikes as well.
Well, I've been talking about our reporters that we had like at PVP and elsewhere. All they have is their phones, and they just do an incredible job. We just, they're not professionals. They're just people we kind of tapped on the shoulder and said, would you do this? Send them a few tips on how to do it. And they did a wonderful job. You mentioned your mental health, and I read about that a little bit in your website. And by the way, you can find Leigh's website in the descriptions below the video here. Just go down below. We're in YouTube or Facebook, and you'll see a link there to his website. We'll talk all more about that. But did you get treatment? How did you work your way through that?
So the real struggle that I had came after university. So I think at that time, my idea of success was very different to what it is now. I left university. At that time, I was focused on this idea of success, which to me was you get a good qualification, you get a good job, earn good money, get the respect of the people around you. And I would say for the most part, I did that. I got a first-class degree and I left and I became a self-employed filmmaker, took on all the work that I could. And plenty of money, got the respect of the filmmaking community around me, but I was very unfulfilled with my life. I think it probably comes down to, reflecting back on it now, it comes down to neglecting some of the things that were important to me. So my friends all moved away from Newcastle where I was living then, and I lived with people I didn't really know. I lived 3 hours away from my parents, which probably doesn't sound very far in the States, but over here it's quite a long way. Yeah. And I gave up things that I loved as well. I gave up cycling because in my mind at that time, why would you spend 10, 15 hours a week riding a bike if it didn't help you along that path to success. And to fill the gaps of those things, the family, the friends, the cycling, I just worked harder. And I think that what I ended up doing was just digging myself deeper and deeper into this hole. Work never became about enjoyment. It was about achievement. And ended up at that point, being diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And I went to see a counsellor for quite a while, a few months, which was, in a way, it was wonderful because I'd never kind of talked about it. It was a long time ago. It was 2008, 9 maybe. And in my mind, and I would imagine that in society there was quite a stigma around mental health. So it was something that I wouldn't really have talked about. But with this counsellor, I just felt like I could offload what I was going through. I'd talk about it. But she would give me homework to do, like looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the base things that you need to fulfill. And then higher up, you get towards this point of self-actualization. And I'd be asked to have a look at the levels and see where I'm putting my time and effort, see what's missing, but I'd never do it. Look at the family script and the way that we see our parents acting in certain situations might be reflected in the way that we do things. But again, I couldn't look within myself and apply it to my life. And what I ended up doing actually was just getting an opportunity. I had this amazing opportunity to go to Iceland on a motorbike for a month with two of the guys that I worked with. And that completely changed my perception of the world. That was adventure. It was going out to places where no one else could get to unless you had these off-road motorbikes, and we'd end up at glaciers that we'd walk over and climbing up volcanoes, swimming in hot water, just like this natural rivers of hot water everywhere, like wild camping under like the midnight sun. It was just spectacular. And I came back from that and thought, okay, right, what am I doing with my life? You only get one of these, and I'm spending mine doing a job that's not fulfilling me. And that inspired me to ride a bike around the world. And for a long time, I would say that distracted me from the mental health. And in fact, in my mind, I probably thought that if I could ride a bike around the world, then normal life would never faze me. Like, you'd come back and I had these heroes who had sailed across oceans or climbed mountains, and I'd be like them. Like, I could do those amazing things. How would relationships and finances and that sort of thing affect me? But I came back after 7 years riding around the world and realized that I'd seen all of this external stuff. And I'd seen like the diversity and the variety of the people and the places, the landscapes, all these things that you can do in the world. But I actually still reacted completely the same to those same things, the responsibilities, finances, pressures. And then I looked for another escape, I guess. That's what took me to the world record across Europe. It was the record across Europe that really changed things for me, though, because I thought in the beginning it would all be about physical strength, legs, heart, lungs. And so I put together a team of, I was looking for a coach, but I actually got a really good physiologist, one of the leading respiratory physiologists in the UK at the University of Derby. I worked with a nutritionist and a physiotherapist, and I thought that is the package that you need. But in the first meeting with the physiologist, he turned around and he was like, so great to hear about your team, but who's your psychologist? And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be like falling in love out there. There's no need for all that stuff. It's all about my legs. That's all I need. And he told me one sentence in that conversation that has stuck with me forever. And I think it became the sentence that everything hinged around on the world record for me, and maybe for the rest of my life. He said that I could be the fastest cyclist in the world on the start line, but it means nothing unless I've got a mind that's strong enough to get me to the finish line. And I think that is, it's the same in every challenge. It's not just about cycling or these ultra endurance challenges. It's about life. It's about, if you want to be a great engineer or a dancer or a great parent or friend, you're going to come across these really difficult times, and it's the way you react. It's the mindset that you build that gets you through it. That's what really defines you. So I ended up working with a psychologist for probably the best part of a year, at least, 6 to 9 months in the lead up to the world record. And it was very much about digging back through that mental health journey that I'd already been on and finding some of those weaker points, and the strengths as well, and then putting together interventions that would get me across the continent.
Well, we appreciate you talking about that. I think it's important that people like you speak about this so that other people feel comfortable. We have a saying here in the United States, it's on television. I don't know if it's in England or not, that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we have, especially, I don't want to make a man thing out of it, but I think for us men, let's be frank, we just have this feeling that we can deal with anything, and I know it's hard for me to ask for help.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's a feeling that we can do everything, but certainly that I have a feeling that I should do everything. Like, I think I was having a conversation with a friend about this recently. We have quite a mental health crisis in what would be termed quite masculine industries in the UK, construction and farming, where there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of feeling that you should provide for your family, and it's not very easy to talk to your colleagues about the difficulties that you're going through. And I think that is a problem that we have, that communication on, in male industries. It's really hard.
Speaking of communication, you have a book.
I do have a book, yes.
You have it there.
I will have a copy somewhere around. Yes.
Well,
why haven't I got one in front of me? The only time when I need one.
I should have asked you before we went on air to have that ready. But, well, anyhow, it's referred to in your on your website. So if you go to the website there, I said it's in the description below the videos. You can find it and find more about it. Is it on Amazon, Leigh?
It's on Amazon. I believe it's coming over to the States at the moment. There's a link through my blog on the website, and there's a lot of different options in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know you get a better return if you buy it through other sources than Amazon. They're kind of chintzy on what they do. But let's recognize. Be sure and check Leigh's website. It's good to get acquainted with you. I forgot to mention. Jerry here, 12 years, awesome job. Thank you, Jerry. It's not we just finished 11. We're in our 12th now, just to be accurate. And congratulations, Leigh. Fantastic writing. What's next for you?
At the moment, I'm not sure. I was talking to somebody about challenges yesterday, a cycling friend of mine, and we were thinking about things to do next year. I was explaining after a year that I've taken off to really put the book together and do the marketing. I'm in pretty bad condition as a cyclist at the moment, so I need to spend the winter kind of getting my fitness up. But one of the things that I do love the idea of doing is the race across America. It's that iconic race, isn't it, in ultra endurance cycling? But it's just it feels like the difficult thing to get into. So maybe I can put it out there on the show. If there's some opportunities out there, it would be great to get into the race across America.
Yeah. Well, it is. And of course, there's a lot of great races happening all over now, Leigh. And like you're saying, it is the iconic race, the queen of ultra cycling, I guess you'd call it. But we're just happy to see what everything's happening around the world, and that's one of the things we're working at here at the OhioRAAM show, to get better in touch with all those wonderful things that are happening elsewhere in the world. Every once in a while, you hear of a race somewhere that you never heard of before, and nobody else seems to have heard of before. And one of our jobs here is to try to tease those out and find them and make them aware of. So there's a lot of wonderful opportunities out there for racing. Hey, it was really great to have you with us today, Leigh, and we wish you well.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You spell your name the more sophisticated way than I do. I just an old farmer's name here. And
it's caused me no end of problems for the last 40 years.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, my first name, I is actually Jesse. And I went by my middle name of Leigh for all my life until I retired and went on Medicare here and Social Security. And the United States government, they don't recognize middle names. So now when I go to the doctor and they call for Jesse, I sometimes look around and wonder who the heck is not answering this call. And lo and behold, it's me. But yeah.
You're that guy. No, that's great. I need to invent a middle name. Can I have your first name? We'll swap. I'll be Leigh Jesse Timmis, and you can be Jesse Lee Crider.
Okay, that's great. We'll do that, and that'll work well. And I'll take up your spelling. Makes me feel a little more, I don't know, savoir-faire, or
Okay.
I think of some French name for that. Hey, enough of this chatter. Hey, it's been great having you and getting acquainted with you and having a chance to introduce you. Don't go anywhere when we go off the air. Just hang in for a bit. I just want to remind everybody we've got a big show coming up next week, same time, 3:00, because Joe will be in Ireland. So we got to make it convenient for him. We didn't, goodness sakes, we wouldn't want a ultra cyclist to lose any sleep over anything. So we'll be at 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern time, 5 hours later, 8 p.m. in the British Isles. And well, you can figure it out for yourself from there on. We're still on summertime and through here. So just look it up on the internet. They'll tell you what time it is. Leigh, thanks again. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate everyone here. And oh, by the way, for those of you, we've had Greg Zuber as our voice of the show for a long time, and nobody's seen him. But I recorded him. I took my camera with me today, and I recorded a new voiceover for Greg, and he will be seen in person next week, I think. We hope so. Thank you, everybody, for being with us.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.